Yes, it's Ashwell,
All right, we'll stand for the pledge. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll have a moment of silence. Thank you. All right. Roll call.
Ms. Alt.
Here.
Mr. Bodkins.
Here.
Ms. Durbin.
Here.
Dr. Fellner.
Here.
Ms. Frank.
Here.
Mr. Richard.
Here.
Ms. Ziegler.
All right. Ms. Ziegler did call in earlier to be excused. Can I get a motion to excuse Ms. Ziegler?
Mr. President, I'll make a motion to excuse Ms. Ziegler.
Motion by Mr. Richards, second by
I'll second.
Ms. Durbin. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Motion carried. Elected officials.
Mayor Leary.
Here.
Auditor Satterfield.
Present.
Director of Law Palmer.
Here.
Treasurer Sparks. Safety Service Director Ward.
Here.
Thank you. And has everyone had a chance to look over the minutes from June 14th? If so, could I get a motion to approve the minutes? Motion made by Ms. Durbin,
To approve the minutes.
seconded by Mr. Watkins. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. All right, we do have two items that need to be added to the agenda.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion to add ordinance 2022-51 to the agenda for tonight.
All right, motion to add 22-51 to the agenda by Mr. Richards, seconded by Ms. Alt. That is a voice vote, right?
Yeah, your roll call.
Roll call.
Ms. Alt.
Yes.
Mr. Bodkins.
Yes.
Ms. Durbin.
Yes.
Dr. Fellner.
Yes.
Ms. Frank.
Yes.
Mr. Richard.
Yes.
Motion carried. We do have another ordinance, 2022-52, that needs added to the agenda.
I'll make a motion to accept ordinance number 2022-52 to the agenda.
Thank you, Ms. Frank. Second by Ms. Durbin. Roll call.
Ms. Alt.
Yes.
Mr. Bodkins.
Yes.
Ms. Durbin.
Yes.
Dr. Fellner.
Yes.
Ms. Frank.
Yes.
Mr. Richard.
Yes.
Motion carried. I don't have any citizens.
You gotta approve the agenda as amended.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Could I get a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
I'll make that motion to approve the amended agenda.
Mr. Fellner, second by Ms. Durbin. All in favor?
Aye.
That motion carried. And like I said, I don't have any citizens motion or any citizens addressing council, so we'll move on to legislation. Ordinance 2022-49.
Ordinance number 2022-49 entitled Ordinance Approving Decisions of the City of Galion Treasury Investment Board and Declaring an Emergency.
All right, thank you. This is some maturing of some CDs. Mr. Fellner.
This came through finance committee meeting, and it's an ordinance. There was a meeting, as we know, Meter and Associates are our investment advisors, and there are some CDs maturing this month, and we needed to make a decision. Otherwise, they're just sitting as cash and not doing anything. So it was. This is an approval for the decision made by the investment board. There's going to be other CDs maturing as the year goes on, so more to come in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Fellner. Does anybody have anything additional? Mr. Satterfield.
If there's no discussion, I think Dr. Bowman's allowed to do it. Let's get this passed as an emergency. So we get this rolling because they are just sitting on cash right now.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules and proceed to the final reading on ordinance 2022-49.
All right, motion to suspend the rules by Mr. Fellner, second by Ms. Durbin.
Dr. Fellner,
Yes.
Ms. Durbin,
Yes.
Ms. Frank,
Yes.
Mr. Richard,
Yes.
Ms. Alt,
Yes.
Mr. Bodkin.
Yes.
All right, motion carried. Just suspend the rules.
Mr. President, if there's no other discussion, I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance 2022-41, or 49, excuse me.
Motion by Mr. Richards, second by Mr. Watkins. Oh, sorry. Mr. Watkins. Yeah. Discussion? There's no discussion, roll call.
Mr. Richard,
Yes.
Mr. Bodkins,
Yes.
Ms. Durbin,
Yes.
Dr. Fellner,
Yes.
Ms. Frank,
Yes.
Ms. Alt.
Yes.
Motion carried. Moving on to ordinance number 2022-50.
Ordinance number 2022-50, entitled Ordinance Establishing the Health COVID-19 Enhanced Operation EO 2022 Grant Fund 243 and declaring an emergency.
Dr. Feldman.
Yes, this also came through Finance Committee, and we have a member of the Health Board here. I was wondering if he could give us a brief description of this ordinance.
Yes, thank you. So this is similar to other COVID grants, which we have received in the past to help enhance COVID-19 operations, to include contact tracing, help pay for personnel, it'll help pay for medical supplies and some new office equipment as well.
Is there a grant deadline on this?
It's just a fund establishment
Oh, fund establishment. Oh, I see, okay.
or fund line.
Right. Somebody have this? Dr. Feldman.
We've seen this come up many times in the past couple of years, and this is a way to keep track of grants as they come in, to put them in their own fund line. So I think it's pretty straightforward. And
Mr. Satterfield, do you?
Yeah, this is the correct order to do it. So you would establish the fund, then you would fund the fund. So this is what this is going to do, is allow us to get down there and get the fund established in the system. You've authorized that, and then Josh can go ahead, get the grant, get the money, we can put it in there, and it's all ready to go. So it's step A of B, C, and D.
Do you have some things lined up that should we expedite the ordinance so that?
We don't know why you wouldn't. I mean, you're literally not funding anything, and I think you're allowing us to get a head start on the process, which is establishing the fund. That's what we're doing tonight, which would really be appreciated with any kind of head start we can get.
Right. Mr. Richard.
As indicated by Mr. Satterfield and Dr. Fellner, this is pretty much a straightforward establishment of an account. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules on ordinance 2022-50 and go ahead and move it to the final reading.
Motion to suspend the rules by Mr. Richard, second by Ms. Frank. Roll call.
Mr. Richard,
Yes.
Ms. Frank,
Yes.
Ms. Alt,
Yes.
Mr. Bodkins,
Yes.
Ms. Durbin,
Yes.
Dr. Fellner.
Yes.
Motion carried. Any other questions? Dr. Feldman.
Yes, if there are no other comments, I'd like to make a motion to pass ordinance 2022-50.
Motion by Dr. Fellner, second by Ms. Frank. Discussion? No discussion, roll call.
Dr. Fellner,
Yes.
Ms. Frank,
Yes.
Mr. Richard,
Yes.
Ms. Alt,
Yes.
Mr. Bodkins,
Yes.
Ms. Durbin.
Yes.
Motion carried. Moving on to ordinance 2022-51.
Ordinance number 2022-51, entitled Ordinance Authorizing the Safety Service Director to apply for and accept a law enforcement body armor grant made available through the Ohio Attorney General and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Any other discussion? The chief has anything that he wants to add on this ordinance?
It's a total project cost of $25,584. There's a 75% reimbursement, and that's through the Attorney General's Office in conjunction with the Ohio Bureau of Workers' Compensation. Excuse me. So they've approved us for $19,188, and there's a 25% match, $6,396. So that whole $25,584 has to be basically up front, and then we get reimbursed after purchase of ballistic body armor. Some of that's due to the fact that they're expiring. They're only good for so many years, and it was brought to my attention by one of the officers that there's a few people in the department whose ballistic vests expire, and some of their rifle-rated panels or plates that go inside the vest. So that's going to replace those in addition to providing a couple ballistic helmets. And like some of the recent events that's been taking place has been, heavily covered in the media and different things like that. We kind of want to reassess some of the readiness within the department that we have proper equipment.
How much will this purchase, the $25,000?
That's pretty much all of it.
No, I'm sorry, individual vests.
Oh, I believe it was 4. Okay. I apologize, I was not able to find that paper that I had.
It's in below the
So
application. There's a quote from ProTech Sales Doc.
Oh, yeah. So it's 5 of the best board carriers for Mali, and it's only 16 plates. That's front and back. And those are more up to date. The ones that we currently have are significantly heavier, which puts undue stress on the officers when they're working SWAT operations or details that go for several hours. And the new ballistic plates are a lot lighter, so that's a benefit. It's not much more than what they were before.
Is there already funds available for this 25% that you guys need, or are you going to be cutting it close with your budget that you have now?
It's probably going to be cutting it close as I understand it. I did reach out to Eunice to try to help me with that to see if we need to request additional funding until that's reimbursed. But I know they've had some things going on in the auditor's office, so I didn't want to be a burden to them, and I'm waiting to hear back.
Go ahead, Paul, excuse me.
What is a rifle plate?
So you have the ballistic vest that's soft body armor, and then right in the center to protect the vital organs, there's a metal or synthetic plate, and it's the stop rifle rounds.
It's actually a second layer, Paul. It goes on top. There's a pocket in the vest, and it goes on top of that, so it gives you an extra layer in your most critical zone. So while the rifle rounds may penetrate the actual Kevlar
But it doesn't.
outside, it gives you a fighting chance. It's not to say that it may not, but it's not supposed to.
And it helps with shock mitigation, so it absorbs more of the impact of the round to the body, so the body's not sustaining all that impact.
Okay. Thank you.
No, you're fine.
So, Kara, were you satisfied with the answer?
Yeah.
Okay, because I think the answer is, I wouldn't equivocate on the budget and stuff. We're gonna make sure there's funds. The other issue, we'll make sure there's funds. The bigger issue is I doubt if the appropriation expected the additional state money. So there will be a follow-up piece of legislation that will require increasing that budget and then reimbursing back the general fund, I would think. I'm not sure quite the form, but will it be advancing? We might advance 103 and 104 and then pay the contractor and then submit the reimbursement. So we'll need to appropriate some more, I'm almost absolutely certain. But as far as where's the local share gonna come from, it's a high priority and, you know, we'll make it work first within their budget, transferring around, and then we'll, look at I doubt if it comes back to finance committee as a supplemental. They'll probably cut the training budgets. I was gonna try all night to make the chief smile. I got one, but he did smile. He doesn't think it's funny, and I'm just joking. Anyways,
And this is your second grant that you've gotten this year, is that right? Or that you're trying for another one? Good.
This is a grant that we've used the Attorney General's bulletproof vest grant at least twice. It's actually through BWC. It's better than the national grant, which is a 50-50 split. This is 75-25.
Awesome. Thank
And
you.
it was due to expire early on, so that was the need for the immediacy of it. And it looks like it has to be expended, the award acceptance and request for reimbursements have to be submitted by September 30th
Okay.
of this year.
it's, the workers' comp funding program, we could probably talk sometime for an hour, but I won't even start it. But that's where the funds are coming from, through the Attorney General, so it does have the funding and the awarding agencies are two different entities. So tax you for one thing and then somebody else gives you the grant. Anyway.
Does anybody have, Dr. Feldman?
I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules and proceed to the final reading on ordinance 2022-51.
Motion by Dr. Feldner, seconded by Mr. Watkins. Roll call.
Dr. Fellner.
Yes.
Mr. Bodkins. Ms. Durbin.
Yes.
Ms. Frank.
Yes.
Mr. Richard.
Yes.
Ms. Ault.
Yes.
Motion to suspend the rules carried.
That's a really good thing, Doc, because I think it has to be submitted by Thursday or something like that, so I don't know if that's in the ordinance, you saw that, but we, Mr. Richard, will be
Mr.
helpful.
President, it's very important, so I would say, I'd like to make a motion to pass ordinance 2022-50.
Motion by Mr. Richards, second by Ms. Frank. Discussion? No discussion, roll call.
Mr. Richard.
Yes.
Ms. Frank.
Yes.
Ms. Ault.
Yes.
Mr. Bodkins.
Yes.
Ms. Durbin.
Yes.
Dr. Fellner.
Yes.
Motion carried. Moving on to ordinance number 2022-52.
Ordinance number 2022-52, entitled Ordinance Amending Section 2 of Ordinance number 2022-26 due to an increase in the interest rate, authorizing the Safety Service Director to purchase pursuant to revised code 125.04C without competitive bidding 3 2022 police interceptor vehicles from Reineke Ford Lincoln through the Ford Credit Municipal Finance Program and declaring an emergency.
Dr. Feldman.
This kind of came through finance, although it didn't have a specific ordinance number attached to it. The spirit, I'm going to ask Ms. Ward just to kind of walk us through this. Or Chief?
Chief.
Okay.
Yeah, timing is everything.
Okay.
Yeah, we basically covered once before and was approved for it, and the problem is, until Ford Municipal Financing Program until we received all the vehicles and until they received the bill of sale and they believe it was a tax document or something of that sort, they wouldn't do the final approval of the paperwork. And it's changed multiple times, so each time the interest rate goes up to whatever the current rate is that's established by the federal government. So currently we have all three vehicles now, and I spoke with Ford Municipal Financing and last week, and they still had not yet received the bills of sale. So she had reached out to Reineke to kind of see where we're at with that. But I think it's just because of the snail mail. Everything's been held up with COVID and everything else going on. They just haven't received that yet. So those quotes are good for 30 days, then they expire. So the most recent one expired on the 24th. And we have a new one issued, and we'll have 30 days on that one as well. So I'm hopeful that everything will be received by then as far as all the paperwork goes, and then we'll be locked into that amount, to whatever the current rate is. Should we have forwarded copies to Ms. Bell? We stated that on the copy I forwarded to you and Safety Service Director Ward.
Oh, yeah, I didn't realize. I thought they got everything. I thought we were fine. Those were the final numbers. I was like, I hope they get there in time.
Not until they receive those documents. It could change again, but like I said, I'm hopeful that within 30 days they'll have it, since we now have the vehicles.
So if the dollar amount changes, do we have to,
To amend it again.
we'll have to amend it again? All right. But we do need to approve it, I think, today.
Gives you 30 days.
Right.
So I think it was a fairly easy process. Former Chief Sadler will probably answer that. I don't think he had as much of an issue with it when they first started doing this a few times. But for whatever reason with the COVID, it's really getting held up a lot. We have to keep reapplying for that new quote, and then the interest rate changes.
So we're probably gonna need to suspend the rules on this one, approve it today, and then we're gonna have to amend it, potentially, when it comes, when,
30 days go
everything
past.
settles.
30-day window.
Right.
Chief, when did that window start for the next 30 days?
As soon as we execute that 30-day quote, saying that we're having current audit, and there's like 2 other pieces of legislation. I think the Safety Service Director has to sign off on it, saying that she's an authorized person to do so. And there's one other check-off sheet, or checkbox.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just, where are the vehicles? Do we have possession of those? I understood they were being outfitted or whatever the term is.
Yep, they had the graphics applied to them, and they're over at Park Public Safety waiting to be upfitted with all the electronics and equipment that goes in it.
So it's a question of who has them. Are they sitting on Reinecke's lot? No, we've passed that.
Yes.
I think you can do the math in your head kind of quick, the difference in interest rates. There'll be about $7,000 in interest rates over the life of the 3 years. We need to look at that. I still think it's a good bottom line deal, but as the cost of money goes up, leasing versus outright purchase are some things that we'll probably want to look at. So this gets passed. Somebody needs to make a mental note in 2 years to come back and look closely at that, because we're committing for 3 vehicles for 3 years. But it's like anything else, the circumstances, in this case, the interest rate changes, then, I think it's necessary to look at that decision again. So anyway, about $21,000 in interest over the life of it.
Dr. Feller?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules and proceed to the final reading on ordinance 2022-52.
Suspend the rules by Dr. Feller, second by Ms. Ault. Roll call.
Dr. Fellner,
Yes.
Ms. Ault,
Yes.
Mr. Bodkins, Ms. Durbin,
Yes.
Ms. Frank,
Yes.
Mr. Richard.
Yes.
Motion to suspend the rules carried.
Yeah, Eric, can I say one thing before we vote on that 21,000 for those people who want to see where I got that quote? I sort of made it up in my head with Catholic school math, so I don't want to get a public records request. Where did I get that number? But you can do it in your head. You guys that do interest, you can do it. It's about 21 grand, 22 grand. Thanks.
Mr. Richard?
Yes, barring any other discussion, I'd like to make a motion to pass ordinance 2022-52.
Motion by Mr. Richard, second by Ms. Frank. Discussion? On the roll call.
Mr. Richard,
Yes.
Ms. Frank,
Yes.
Ms. Ault,
Yes.
Mr. Bodkins,
Yes.
Ms. Durbin,
Yes.
Dr. Fellner.
Yes. Carried. All right, moving on to other business. Mr. Satterfield, you brought up finance reports.
Yes, thank you.
I'm sorry.
Oh, you're gonna do that, you're gonna do the point.
Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped over the committee, the calendar. We got calendar for July. Maybe we'll pause that, Mr. Satterfield, and move to the calendar. Does everybody have the dates that they have their next meeting set up for those who have them in July here? Mr. Richard?
Mr. President, law, excuse me, my voice is going. Law ordinances will be on July 5th at 7 o'clock.
Ms. Hall?
Utilities will be at 7 o'clock on July 6th here in Council Chambers.
Karen?
In the spirit of discussing things at those committee meetings, instead of just sort of stamping and sending on specific ordinances, one thing that you might want to consider for that utilities meeting is the short-term and long-term use of that fiber optic ring that is mostly constructed and kind of never been lit. We had a $30,000-ish assessment of that by a local fiber optics company, and probably have some things to report back about the next step. And it connects, I think, pretty directly to what we do with the SCADA system. So without talking in code, the idea is do we want to use our fiber optic network, light it, and at least use it for the city so that we can communicate all kinds of things, from the volume of water in our water towers to where the outage is in the electric system. It's a more 21st century responsive system to be able to track and use that. So we want to begin that discussion. It's I won't try to do that tonight, but I think it's a good first step. And I would say the other thing that is right on, and I think of Dr. Fellner on this, we're looking at alternatives to financing the upgrade of the 69 kV line. We probably need to resurrect that at that committee. When you looked at all the stuff that got broken and torn to the ground a week or so ago, the knock on wood, luckiest part of that for us, and I know some people had severe damage, but none of our 69 lines came down, and that would have been we'd still be aching and paining and trying to figure out how to make emergency replacements to that. That's the lines that connect the various substations, and they're way past their sort of rated useful life, and we've been looking at. We know that that's the next item that we're going to have to do to upgrade the electric system. We're kind of trying to pay off our existing debt and then tackle that. So we need to begin to talk about that. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Richard?
Parks meeting will be July 13th at 7 p.m. here.
Thank you.
Economic Development and Airport Committee meeting will be on July 19th at 7 p.m. and it will be here.
Thanks, Ms. Frank.
Streets will be on July 14th. We changed our starting time to 6:30.
All right. Thank you, Ms.
Hey, may I comment, Melissa, you mind if I comment on I expect that ESID ordinance, that topic to come back up. It's either, we're probably not ready with the hotel, but the apartment project, it's kind of that, it's either gonna proceed, and that might be the time frame that they're gonna need. It'll be, hurry up and wait kind of thing, but that's one thing I know would be coming your way. And then imagine this, Ken, there was a bust, seems to be a bust on that local paving. So we'll talk about it. You'll see the bids are out there. There's some question about whether we award everything that people have somehow got an expectation on, because I think it's been out. It's not in the ordinance that you passed, but it's in the bid document, which streets. There's a difference between that appropriated amount and the new estimated amount. So get rid of that's a happy. People will rush to hear that. But I think the goal is not to cut streets and to look at a way to go ahead and pave streets like Riblet and Richardson, and who knows where Ottawa is. Anyone know where? I have no. The cops do. That's good. That's good. No, Ottawa Boulevard, street, alley, what? So that was on the list, I think, in Ottawa, wherever it's at. If you live on it, you're probably like broiling mad, or somebody will Facebook you making fun of our street. But I don't know where it's at, but those were 3 streets that sort of dropped below the, there has to be there's another way to skin that cat, and that would be to spend a little bit more. So as much time as Ken's committee spent on trying to right size that, it's, you just can't, just seems like estimated costs are going to be doubles on that. Okay.
Finance Committee, July 20th, 7 o'clock.
And the last one we have is Police, Fire, and Health.
July 21st.
On July 21st at 7 o'clock. All right. Does anybody have anything else for council? If not, Mr. Satterfield.
Thank you. I'm not going to take a whole lot of time on the revenue, expense, and cash budget reports there in front of you. We're at 42% of revenue, 53% of expenses year to date as of today. And the fund balances, again, to go back to some of the negatives, especially like the police and fire pension, the transfers have not been made in those because of reconciliations. So those come out of the 101. What I did want to spend some time with, and I will answer questions regarding those if you would like. I didn't need to run through that. But on your last page, what I did is I put together a sheet, reference the bands, the debt rollover. That's been finalized, well, at least it's in the process. The grant, the band award went to Huntington Bank. If you look at the third box that I've got there, the interest rate for the bands coming up that will start is 3.16. That was the lowest bid we got, which is double what we had last year. Okay, so if you look at these 3 boxes on the top, debt payment that we're going to have in July, we're paying $2.6 million for his federal plus the $39,000 in interest. That's all taken care of. We're making sure that the purchase orders and everything are ready to go. The $2.64 million in the debt that we borrowed last year that we had to repay. The middle box is that had we not, if you will, paid down any of the debt, we would borrow $2.596 million. It would have cost us $82,000 in interest. In discussions with the mayor, I gave him some options last week, had discussion. In the bottom box is what was decided to do, and this is what we're going to. We've paid down some of the debt. We have not touched the screw pump or the lift station yet, or the electric upgrade. The electric upgrade, we have a pretty good plan of action going forward with the debt, a bond issue that is coming off the books, and we're going to use that money to help pay that off. But we did hammer on the Brant Road project and the Harding Way Fund paving project. If you look at the bottom line, we've in essence paid down $552,000 in debt, which means we're only borrowing $2,044,200. It's saving us $17,500 in interest by doing that, which is a good thing. We're making progress. We've had precursory conversations. The mayor and I had talked before I took office, certainly during the time I've taken office, and we're going to get even more in line with that, and we're going to have numbers in front of you for budgetary purposes so we don't scramble next year trying to figure this out. We'll have a pretty good idea. What we did is we looked at the fund balances where they were at the end of the year, where we project them to be at the end of this year, what we think that the budget can sustain, and what we'll also do, and this includes the likelihood of presentation of legislation to you to transfer $350,000 from 401 for the purpose of paying off debt, which we talked with the state auditors that you can do because they're capital projects. This is capital money. If we do the ordinances specific to paying down the debt, then we can transfer that money. We will have more conversations about that, but I anticipate that's what's going to happen. About $350,000 of that, which will go into 608 and 201. The general fund is pretty healthy, and I had a light bulb moment last week, and I'm going to try to share it with you. Paying down the debt does not mean we wrote a check to the bank. Paying down the debt means that it is less money that we are borrowing. Okay? So we anticipated, the budget anticipated a full rollover of $2.96 million. We are only getting $2,044,000 over the various funds, which means that's less revenue that will be in those funds than we anticipated. That was my light bulb moment, because I thought we had to write a check to pay the debt down. That's not what happens. We actually receive less money, we borrow less money, which means it's less revenue that's coming back in than we anticipated. But if you look at the fund balances, we really looked at the fund balances to look and make sure that we were not putting ourselves in jeopardy. Taking what we could, little chunks here and there, to get the debt. It makes perfect sense, in our opinion, to not waste taxpayers' money on interest. If we can sustain it, let's take care of it and get this over with. So, yes.
Kind of just based off of what you just said, kind of looking at the fund balances, I know that we spent a lot of time talking about the fund balances in the water and the sewer. So, kind of, whenever you're looking at paying down more of that grant road or the right way fund, so that's gonna make those utility balances even less?
We have not touched the enterprise funds. We did not touch 603, we did not touch 605, and the 608 fund, which is fairly healthy. We're going to use some of the 401, we're going to use the 401 money to supplement that. So what we did is we basically taken and cut the Brant Road project, the 608 portion, we cut it in half, $71,800. We cut it in half. But we're going to take some 401 money and supplement it, use it to pay the debt down, and put it back into the 608.
And whenever you were saying the 401 money, that is the money that was earmarked for.
Keller.
No, it was for, if I might jump in, it was Brant Road, water and sewer.
Yeah.
So that was passed in the budget last year with the different majority.
And that was that like 405,000 or something like that?
Yeah, it's on page 2 of 2 in Brian's handouts at the top of that. It's almost 600,000 of unexpended. I don't expect that encumbrance to come off. One of it is the design. One of that 75,000 one is the design of Brant Road. NIST Drive or Valero Drive extension, and that's just not going to happen this year. So that encumbrance probably could be lifted. We've told the engineer not to work on it. So you've really got close to 600,000, 350. I agree with everything Brian said. And where you'll see this come out is not the utility funds, but you'll see it come out of that fund like you just identified. So the Brant Road is for the roadway, and the stormwater, that'd be the curb and gutter. And then the other one is straight highway money to pay for Harding Way. And as a practical matter, it says 201, that 201's capital money, for the most part, comes from the general fund. So if you wanted to trace it back to the source of that, it's really it'll be a general fund transfer into 201 to pay that off. And where I absolutely agree is with different moving factors, interest rates. It's going to cost us a bunch. That $64,000 that Brian pointed, this is less than what we were going to spend. Imagine what if we had gotten 2% rates. That would be the spread between what we would pay at $82,000 and what we're going to have is $65,000. That would have been even more. So a lot of that is that 1/3 increase in interest rates or doubling of it, however you want to look at it.
I mean, if you really look at the top box, we're paying $39,000 in interest on $2.6 million this year, and we're paying $64,500 on $2.044 next year.
Yeah. So I think that's going to cause us to reassess this, if you will, easy money strategy of just go ahead and issue the debt. Doesn't cost you but a percent or two interest and roll, baby, roll. Well, unfortunately, we haven't seen pop-up development like I think a lot of us hope for still, and some of us expected sooner out there. And so the Keller Drive extension it's if you will, it's a non-performing asset. We've got to pay that down instead of having this year if we borrowed another $600,000 instead of $300,000, you can do the arithmetic. That extra interest, just starts to mount up. So I think paying down makes sense given that interest rates are up, probably going to stay up, and if we're cautious with the general fund balance, we'll be able to do some smart things. So I'll conclude by saying I don't think we're drawing down 101 through 201 inappropriately. Talk about a commonly used artery, parting way, it definitely is. And the other money, those people want to talk about the Keller Drive risk investment. I would want to point out that money in the permanent improvement fund came from the lease and now the eventual sale of the HTI building. So people who would say would wonder where that came from, where 401 came from, that came to the city from that transaction. So I'm neither puffing out my chest or being too defensive. I'm just trying to be informative about it. Because you may be saying, well, where'd you get that money? So that's where it came from. So it's, I think it's a good investment. I think it's good for the city. And at some point, we'll see some additional investment out there, and then we'll all feel smarter about, making that commitment out there. But enough said. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
One last thing, we spent the morning and about an hour into the afternoon today with what Eunice says is the first that she's been here, audit of our payroll by BWC. So we learned some things today from that. The gap audit they've gotten their stuff done. We should be getting a report shortly on the gap audit. And we are scheduled for our regular audit in August, I believe. So things aren't getting any easier in regards to that, but we're moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Satterfield. Mr. Palmer.
Yes, subject of the week in my office has been fireworks. I know that Eric and I had the conversation this afternoon. I've had ongoing conversations with Chief Rodriguez and Chief Jackson about the new fireworks laws which come into effect with this coming holiday weekend. I strongly suspect that you may get questions from constituents about what the new laws are, which in some situations will allow Galionites to discharge consumer-grade fireworks, which they've never been able to discharge before. The state fire marshal created a set of laws, and let me step back from that. They're not laws, they're rules. They do rulemaking, but it becomes part of Ohio law. when they finish that and publish it, which they have done. So with this new ability comes a set of parameters in which Galion citizens must operate if they're going to discharge this type of firework. When we're talking about 1.4 fireworks, we're talking about things like bottle rockets, of higher, better grade firecrackers, Roman candles, something called cakes, which I have no idea what that is. But these are things which Ohioans have never been able to discharge before. Many Ohio cities, locally I know of Mansfield that did it, passed an ordinance which maintained the current situation so that these are not able to be discharged anywhere in those cities that adopted that. Galion did not adopt that, therefore we are going to be under the new guidelines. So because of that, I thought you might like to have an overview of what those are. So I've been working with Chief Rodriguez and Chief Jackson, and they have the latest full versions, but I have bullet point overviews here for each of you tonight. This is actually from the city of Painesville, but I read through it, and that matches exactly the fire marshal rules. So this is what it's going to be. Basically, in a nutshell, there are a number of designated holidays in which this can take place. That includes everything from the traditional July 4th holiday to things like Chinese New Year and Cinco de Mayo. These are specified and times are specified, but there are restrictions on these fireworks, such as they cannot be discharged within 150 feet of any building or structure. They can't be discharged within 150 feet of any spectator. So there's a number of restrictions, and been working with the departments in terms of getting them that information, so they will have this weekend begins the process. So again, I thought you probably would like to have a copy of this, so I brought some with me. And if you got any questions on that, let me know. I will tell you that this is just an overview, so this is bullet points. There is a larger document that I'm very willing to give any of you. It's 5 pages long. It is what actually comes out of the Ohio Fire Marshal's office that lays out all of the restrictions, and there's many more than what are on here, but these I think are the most germane and the ones you probably will be asked about. That's all.
What's enforcement going to look like for this?
We had that conversation today.
Enforcement.
So,
will
If I may, from history, and Mark can attest to for 25 plus years and 30 years, it's impossible.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's not possible, but you're not going to chase down every bottle rocket that's shot up in the air. It's just, you can't. Your more concern is that the bigger fireworks are those that create a bigger fire hazard. That's what Phil and Mark would be more concerned with than my neighbor kids are shooting off bottle rockets in the backyard.
So if like my neighbor set off a really big one and I felt like it was too close to my house, I would call the non-emergency number and say, hey, my neighbor's setting off really scary fireworks, could you come look? Could that be what you would do?
Yeah, I think we would still respond to it. It's going to be a dual agency response because you're going to have the fire department and responding to it because of being an incendiary type device or maybe an explosive type device. But then on the enforcement side, the way it's set up, as I understand it, and I haven't dug into the longer version, the enforcement side falls on the police department. And essentially, that's going to have to be a witnessed incident. So if we don't have a witness to it or somebody willing to witness it or an officer who witnessed it, then that becomes a nightmare to try to properly enforce that.
The way that the Ohio General Assembly, in their infinite wisdom, set this up is, it is a first-degree misdemeanor offense. So there are teeth to this, if you will. That's not talking about the practicalities of enforcement, which is a whole another matter. But there is some ability here to actually hold feet to fire if that would be necessary for a repeat offender or whatever. But again, I just have these here because I think there's questions out there. I've seen them on Facebook already. And I thought, well, you all would want that at your fingertips. So there you go.
I think it's important to note that the restrictions on the laws are so stringent that it's really difficult to fall within acceptable range inside the city limits to set off fireworks. I think that should be the message. That even though the law is written that you can set off the bottle rockets, and the restrictions within the rules are such that that almost everywhere in the city you will be, the law will restrict you from being able to do so. It's kind of a blanket statement. I don't like to issue blanket statements like that, but if you read through them, there's a lot of restrictions in there. How many feet you can set them apart from somebody that's under 18.
Yeah.
How far away they can be from a house. Different things like that inside the city limits, it makes it almost impossible to set them off.
They even required, if I'm not mistaken, written permission from all the neighbors.
Well, no, that's what, remember I sent you a second email today, I'm following up with that. It looks like in the final version, they took that part out. But you can only set these off, this is for sure, on property which you own or on which you have written permission from the property owner. So, what Chief is referring to is there was something about a perimeter and you needed written permission from all those people. They actually took that out of there. But again, I have these for you, so we'll go from there.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Palmer.
Yep.
Mayor Lee.
I'm trying to make it quick. This weekend's real important, that people in city government are visible, and the people generally support the pickle run. Those kinds of things don't happen on their own, and the critics of the few volunteers that make it all happen should stay at home. Those critics should stay at home, but everybody else should go down there. We're lucky to have that kind of festival, and they've made it work for, 6-7 years. Pretty cool. It is not, however, a perpetual motion machine. And the amount of energy to get the circus up and running just for 2 days is, I think, often overlooked. So get down there and spend whatever money you have left. You could walk, probably, you wouldn't have to buy gas. So that's the first thing I want to say. And I want to go back. I know Dad, it's like, get me out of here. But I think one thing that's worth noting is we did not address, by paying down those two bands that we have, we did not address those two that are attached to the sewer fund. So I think we've got more work to do on that, and we need to work together at the committee level, either finance and or utilities, to come up with a pay down strategy. You can see on what Brian provided that with the screw pumps, we're beginning to have to retire a minimum amount of debt. We've rolled the notes, as long as they let us, and I don't know. Maybe we could call it, well, I don't know. It's a debt that we have to take care of. I was really glad to hear that the state auditor backed up what Thomas and I had hoped for a long time, is that capital improvements fund, permanent improvement, could be used not just for future debts, but for historic capital improvements. So that's good to know. And I think, unfortunately, what remains and what will come in early next year will probably go to figure out a way to pay down the 603 debts. So I think those things are worth mentioning. I'm nothing but a sidewalk superintendent on the highway project, but it seems to be moving along pretty well. There's always going to be a glitch here or there, but so far we've been lucky about interference with utilities. They've been able to work through those. We're mostly talking about storm sewer on our side and fiber optics, private-owned fiber optics that are hanging on our poles. So getting them off and out of the way. It's been a little bit, but you know, relatively speaking, on highway projects in urban areas, it's been tolerable. And so we'll see. I think we're going to be every bit of next summer, early fall. It'll be more than a year from now before they're up and out of there, completed. Maybe wondering, I won't go on too much longer, maybe wondering about the status of some of the other projects that either freeze or otherwise. The Capitol Bill project up on the square. I think all concerned, everybody in this room and a lot of citizens, and I think the contractors involved are, they're not happy about where we're at, but we met, and I think we're going to get an extension request from the contractor so that we have a better idea when that is completed. But I imagine everyone who is up by the square on a daily basis, like Doc or anybody up there driving through it, you have to wonder, where did those guys leave and are they ever coming back? So we've been working with them and trying to get their subcontractors lined up to do their piece and then finish it off. Got another minute? I'll talk just briefly about capital bills, because there are a couple of things that I've not reported on, and we've got to maybe improve communications generally to the citizens, but here in this room. I bet it's generally known that we did not get funded for the senior project at Hosford and Portland South. So if that's like, that sucks the oxygen out of the room, it shouldn't. We didn't get funded, and there's a short backstory. I think the takeaway is better luck next year, and sigh of relief from Aspen Terrace. Those who care about the minutia, we were 1 point lower than a project in Mount Gilead that was funded. So they had a perfect score, we had an 89. Whatever the heck a 90 or an 89 means. I look back at that, we've done research on it to try to understand it better, and there's some things about next year we're gonna make sure we require of the developer, and even including changing the location. The only thing I heard bad about that idea about the project was some concerns about location. And I don't feel it's not walkable at all, and I think transportation for the residents would become oh crap, after being there 2 weeks, it's like, well, it's a long ways to Bueller's. So there's a site that I am not excited, but I think planning on guiding developers to a city-owned site that is closer to some of the commercial stuff. So that we hope will come back next year. We were fortunate enough to, speaking in code now for the few people who are fortunate, I guess that's how we're going to describe it, to receive a commitment of $100,000 out of the pending or upcoming state capital bill. Just, you can't, what kind of sorehead gets mad at $100,000? Well, this kind of sorehead. But we'd asked for $600,000, we got $100,000 for the depot. So we're kind of back at the drawing board. We really feel like $600,000 would have got us to a point of completion, both on the main floor and then also be able to do something that would be constructive. I don't think it's ever going to be a cash flow really wish you'd invested in this thing, but I think we can have tenants that can help pay the bills, and there's certainly services or businesses. The idea would be to have a little mini incubator. I don't know if that's kind of a passé word, maybe an entrepreneurial center or something like that. But it's kind of the idea with all the offices upstairs. It's going to take far more than that. And I'm not making a sales job, but just letting you know we got $100,000. We've still got a lot of mortar to mix and a lot of bricks to be laid and getting it totally funded. But we did get recognition in the capital bill, and talk some other time about a shared belief about the way communities in Crawford County, government entities in Crawford County pursue the capital bill causes us to get lesser amounts in less significant projects than we might be able to secure against every other year. We might be able to secure by not playing into the hands of divvying it up to everyone. You know, everybody, the fairness is to give enough to not complete any project. I've talked with both our legislators about that. And if you look at the 5 projects, I believe it is 4 or 5 in Crawford County that got funded, they're all going to need more money to come into a kind of final stage. So I think over the next couple of years we'll try to work more. I can hardly say it without joking. It's like that wrong. Some people can't say. If we collaborate, we might be able to do better at the state level. So I'm not collaborating within the county. It will be a little bit easier to say than to accomplish, but I think it makes a lot of sense. I think we should talk about a little better plan or strategy for pursuing capital bill dollars. So, all right, thanks. That went on a little longer than I thought. Anything else that you've heard about or are curious about?
Just an update on Carter Crossing and the single-family homes with that. Just whenever I was listening to one of the meetings and you were talking about the senior housing, it kind of sparked that thought, because I think we did that about the same time last year.
Yeah, that is the best we can hope for on that set of projects is the completion of the other 2 apartments at Rugmark, the Giltz projects. I don't think, I'm almost certain they've allowed their option on the Wrenchville property to expire. So I think the push, and I don't think it'll take a lot, is to encourage the Port Authority to begin to market that property on their own. That's who owns it. So you could have lots for sale up there. I think I don't think it will take much, and I think it would really help get the word out that we don't put any infrastructure. There are 3 lots there. The success and the consistency and the effort to get that Monaco building torn down, I wouldn't give a very high grade on that if I was scoring that. We need to be more consistent and identify a lead entity to get that demo, because if you just go out after this discussion, drive by, you say, well, boy, I'd be hard pressed to spend 100 and whatever, 200,000 on a new home and have that in my backyard. So we really have to be more persistent and consistent in scaring up money or putting pressure on the current owner to do something with it, preferably tear it down. So there's actually some more detailed stuff, but I don't want to give away our strategy on it. But I think ultimately some concern, making sure that it's a quote-unquote clean site will help us, give us some leverage. That's that on that building. I think we're just pushing along.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to commend the city over the last couple weeks. There's been, the storm that came through. We were the first first to really have our power on, so to speak, with neighboring areas. They did a good job of keeping the lights on. I know they were off for a little while, but were quick to respond. And that was only part of the battle. The trees that came down. There was a lot of damage. Even to this week, they're busy as bees. I see them out picking up brush and debris that's laying out and about. They've been juggling that and also preparing the parks to look nice for the Pippa Run that's going on and the activity that's happening all over all the parks in town. So I want to commend them for what they've done in a short amount of time. I think they've done a tremendous job as far as that goes in responding. I drive to a lot of different cities in Ohio, and there's a lot of places that still have a lot of piles of brush and things like that. And we're fairly, I believe that we're in a good place right now as far as that goes. We still haven't gotten everything, but the majority of it has been picked up, and it looks great. So I want to thank the city for that, and the fire department, the police department, and volunteers that did their part. I know that there were some people out at Icy Park planting flowers over the last week and things like that, kind of spreading some mulch and things. So in preparation for the event that was going on this weekend. So I just want to say thank you for that. We're excited about this weekend. It's going to be fun, man.
Thanks. I think the key on this is to learn. I think that's one thing. You're reacting, Nikki's trying to deploy or work to get the right people at the right place, but the whole time you're kind of making notes about how we could react better and how we'll react. And there's a fair amount of posting, you may be hearing about that, and city workers, and the one is in the line department anticipating the critical need of that group and its relative seniority. So we're really reacting to the fact that we're going to need to have new apprentices and new linemen out there. So I think that's indicative of learning from it. There's also, and I'll make it short, it's very, very much in the, if you will, infancy. But the chiefs, plural, had met once, beginning to discuss, and then we'd had a follow-up meeting with Nikki and myself to talk about reviewing our response plan on critical incidents. Everybody is aware of the Texas thing, and you want to learn from their horrific mistakes. But closer to home, they've had the need to be involved with local business, and it didn't turn out to be anything newsworthy, but a threatening employee acting up on termination, and a few days go by when you don't read that happening somewhere, someplace. So the point is that we're going to really look at our response plans. I think be honest about where they're strong and where they're weak, and then begin the exercises, plural, of drilling that plan so that we know what to expect of each other. We're going to gather our thoughts and then quite obviously reach out to the school and try to make sure that whatever they're doing to step up awareness or their plans. The worst thing about having a plan is that it just sits two-dimensional, so I think that's the key. I wouldn't rule in or rule out the need to have more resources. But certainly I want to thank the action on the grant. I mean, having vests that you hope you never have to use, but I think that's a first small step towards looking at the security of our, and wherever we have a lot of Galionites either working or going to school. So I think that's afoot, and I think it's trying to learn from other people's situations. But anyway, thank you. All kinds of stuff there. Once I get started, y'all know how that is. So I'll just bite down there.
I don't have anything else, so it's 8:09. I get a motion to adjourn?
Make my motion to adjourn this meeting.
Motion by Mr. Bakken, second by Ms. Grant. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.
I think we were.